There's something that I think that you had talked about in our previous conversation that you called a continuous evolution loop. And I wanted you to explain that because it was an important part of our previous conversation.
Indeed, the continuous calibration loop, which ensures that no matter what you're doing, you enable space for feedback. On the candidate side, it could be as simple as sending out surveys. On the hiring side, it could be as simple as creating systems to provide questions and receiving those responses to iterate the process. Ideally, you want to get feedback not just from Glassdoor or other sources, but directly from candidates that interact with your team. On the internal team side, leveraging a system that evaluates the questions that are asked based on the responses and the overall cumulative score that a candidate received, and taking a longer term approach and looking at that over 12 months to see if the signals we received during the interview align to performance, actual performance. So if someone was rated high and high performer during the interview process because of their aptitude with X, Y, and Z, throughout their professional erudition of the organization, did they showcase that? So by creating systems of feedback loop, you're constantly iterating. When I think about building recruiting systems, it's not just a stagnant process. This is why earlier I shared that trust has to be continuously earned. It's not about placing your faith in it. It's about creating a system that allows you to get the data you need so that you can constantly iterate as needed to get the results that you desire. If you find that you're back in interviews, let's say 80% of the individuals that have completed X number of interviews are scoring really high, but that doesn't translate to the work, then it might be time to evaluate those interviews and ensure that they better align to the actual work that's being done.
I have like three follow-up questions to what you just said, but I want to make sure I ask this question because for all of us out here who are really intrigued, really interested in what you're doing, but if we're leading talent acquisition in our own companies, we're working with our hiring managers, what are the things that we should take away from this conversation that we could just start thinking about and doing differently already on our own that you've learned through the constant iteration and evolution of this model?
That's a really good question. In terms of some of the things, I want to start by just being clear. It depends on where you are. It depends on what stage of growth you're in. If you have an organization that has a foundational model of recruiting, then you can iterate from there. But I would strongly recommend that you take a look at every part of your recruiting system, how you acquire candidates, how you engage them, how you qualify candidates, how you usher them in, as well as your performance management, and qualify that with quantitative and qualitative information. You want to be able to create gauges that give you insights into what's going on at each step so that you can better understand your approach and then begin to measure and then iterate that approach. That's the overall, I would say. The foundation is the same, no matter what you're recruiting for, no matter what organization you're in. The nuances of how you qualify candidates, how you engage candidates, that's ever evolving. Whether you're using a language model or an AI to acquire signals to engage candidates, whether you're qualifying candidates through live collaborative interviews, or again, using a machine, those aspects of the work are going to shift as they should, but the foundation will remain the same. So essentially taking broad view at what it is that you're currently doing and looking at each part and seeing how each part informs the others will provide the necessary insights needed and will quickly educate you on where you are and what's needed to standardize and then drive predictability moving forward.